Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Shane McLean with Live Primal Survival, and I figured we'd do a quick little video on how to build a bug out bag. Got my best friend John Woolman with me here tonight, and his son Parker, and we're just kind of going over the basic ins and outs of what's inside a bug out bag. This is more for me a get home bag than a bug out bag. I don't personally believe in getting out to the woods and living on my own. I have a family I got to worry about, so this just gets me back to them. So without further ado, we'll kind of get into what I keep in my bag and why. We'll start over here on this side. So obviously I have an 8x10 tarp. This is a heavy duty tarp. I picked it up for roughly $10 at Walmart. It is a Hyper Tough, so it's Walmart brand, nothing fancy. You can get it on a budget. Moving down the line here, I've got some standard issue 550 Paracord with all the white guts in there, so you can pull that out using for fishing line, anything you need like that. I've got some diamond braided nylon. It's got about a 40-pound load capacity on it. Great for setting up a shelter or something along those lines. And then I've got some heavy-duty climbing rope. For me, this is just more emergency purposes, but if there's ever a situation I need to climb, I can tie a Swiss seat with this. Wouldn't really recommend it for shelter use. It's kind of heavy-duty. Doesn't hold water very well, but something handy. And then I'm not going to really go through here. I've kind of what we call field fucked, or some MREs. I've got about 3.5 days of food here. Like I said, this is just for me. This is a get home bag. This isn't really for the family. So I got different snacks I keep handy, and then I've got the actual meals I keep separate. I do maintain the magnesium heaters. I don't know if you've ever eaten cold food. It's never fun. Warm food always cheers you up a little bit. Got a 100-ounce Camel bag. This is just, I think it's actually Camelback brand, yeah. So it's not anything expensive, probably $15, $20. 100-ounce bladder with the hose. Some Pampers baby wipes. They do have a little bit more field-friendly versions of this, where it's not in this thin plastic bag, but for me this just stays in the bag, in my bug out bag, and it's just standard baby wipes. They do have non-scented ones if you're worried about picking up a scent. This is just standard baby wipes. Bungee cords. If you're asking why I have bungee cords, you need to rethink your survival situation. These things have a million applications. I use them mostly for shelter building. But there's 1,000 other things you can use for them, so definitely recommend. These are super cheap. These are, I think I picked them up at a supermarket in Canada when I was camping one year. So not expensive at all. I do have one quick poncho. This is like a cheap Walmart brand, and then I have an emergency poncho in case that one fails me. As my friend John Woolman would say, redundancy is key. And then I have my own personal military spec poncho here. This is the older Digicam. You can pick these up pretty cheap on any Army Surplus website or Army Surplus store. I keep this with my poncho. It's just a little snack for one of those days when you're in the rain feeling pretty shitty. Eat you a quick little first strike bar. It's basically just got calories. A little pick-me-up. Here I have, this is an Msr Fuel Bottle, 20 ounces of gasoline. Like I say, a lot of people say gas is cheating, but I'd rather cheat and win than freeze and die. Emergency foil blanket, going into standard issue beanie, couple Aussie oak mitten style fingerless gloves, so you can wear those in any cold weather situation. These are not really what I would recommend for a tactical situation. They're not going to stop splinters or glass or anything like that. These are just for warmth. I do have some Tacticu $10 tactical gloves. I keep those on my shooting setup. A cat tourniquet, quick field application uses. I'm sure you guys have seen and used these before. A couple of little cheapo first aid kits, band-aids, splinters, first aid cream, tweezers, things like that. Nothing too fancy in this setup. This is just something I have to kind of keep wounds clean and closed, prevent blood loss if at all possible. Something a lot of people don't think about is bug spray. I don't know how much, where you're at or how much time you spend in the woods, but bugs will fuck up your life and make your life miserable. So I recommend bug spray. A little bit more triple antibiotic cream, another emergency blanket, some gauze, some tape, waterproof matches, and here's kind of more of the heavier duty version of the first aid kit. This is just for individual use. I wouldn't recommend sharing this with anybody. I do keep another tourniquet on there, some lubrication for the nasopharyngeal airway in case there's loss of air, some gloves just in case I do come across somebody else that's bleeding, Israeli bandage, additional gauze, and additional medical tape. I like to joke, you never need more than 3 tourniquets, but I do keep 2 in this bag, a few in the car, and a couple on my shooting kit as well. Change of socks, I keep 3 pair in there. Highly recommend extra socks, life socks when your feet are wet. Some Chem lights for trail marking. I've got 30-minute to 12-hour intervals in here, green and orange. I did have some infrared, but since I've gotten out of the military, those don't do me a lot of good, so I've gotten rid of those. A couple, I use them as pants patches, but you can use them for your poncho, you can use them for your tent, anything that needs just a quick patch. These are just adhesive. Just open up the badge, stick it on there, and then this seal you can keep for anything occlusive, anything you need to maintain air and water out of. Quick little flashlight. This came in a 3-set. My wife has one, the other one stays in the junk drawer at the house. This is about 500 lumen if I remember correctly, and it does have a telescoping beam on it, so it can go from large frame to very small, and those full 500 lumens focus on one point. Spare batteries. I always keep my batteries out of anything that runs on batteries, just to prevent from corrosion. Cheater fire starter. There's a little Coleman's camping light. Mag bar, ferro rod, just a little throw some sparks. A little handy multi-tool there. It's a bottle opener, small saw blade. It's got a couple of spark gauges on there. I've never personally used this tool. A friend gave it to me. Felt wrong throwing it out. Maybe one day I'll find a need for it. I do have a signal mirror here. Funny enough, this is from a makeup kit my sister gave me, but I've had this since I was 19 years old. I did a hike across America, and it has served me well since then, so I still keep my glitter and sparkles on there. Very nice. Just a little Tech hatchet, just a small handheld hatchet, nothing fancy. Got this for being the best man at a good friend's wedding. Never gonna throw that out. Just a quick kind of gutting knife. You can use that for anything you need. Very handy. Very sharp as well, so be careful with any blades. Kind of a shit-on knife. A lot of people talk trash on the Bear Grylls survival knife. I personally love it. I've had it for years. I bought it while I was in the military. It's got tie-offs. It's got a hammer end on it. Very sharp blade. It's got a ferro striking pad. On the back side of the knife itself, it's got a small sharpening kit, and it does come with a ferro rod to throw sparks. So also comes with a belt loop and then some handy arm and hand signals on the back side there, I guess, if you're deciding to communicate with helicopters or rescue vehicles. Could come in handy. Small sharpening stone here. It's got a medium and fine grit. Keep the knife sharp. I do have a Gerber Multi-Tool. I think this is the, what model is this? The suspension model. Just a pair of pliers, some small blades, a pair of scissors, a couple screwdriver ends on it. Always handy. Always recommend having a multi-tool. If you don't have one in your bag, keep one in your car. Carry one on your belt if you can. Some Fisker scissors, another pair of tweezers. I personally hate splinters, so I keep a couple pair of tweezers in the bag. Just makes life a little easier. Get glass out, metal, anything that might happen in a situation that puts you in a situation you're escaping. I do have a Hammock Suspension Kit. A lot of people don't know, but most of your heat is absorbed by the ground when you're sleeping. So if you get off the ground, it'll do a world of wonders. If you do, someone who carries a sleeping bag or a sleeping kit rather, you can still hang this up, put the pad underneath you, and it'll still prevent heat loss. Just stay a few inches off the ground if you need to. These are just straps for the hammock. Always keep a deck of playing cards handy. You never know when you come across a stranger or just want to play some solitaire. Cards will keep you sane. There's a reason these have been around for 1,000 years or however long, and they'll stay around. I did skip the waterproof matches. Just standard waterproof matches, nothing fancy. This is a Wolf Warrior bag. This is about $37 on Amazon. I really like it. It's got some webbing here, some MOLLE setup, Velcro for your patches if you're a cool guy. In here, just your standard backpack for like a school type scenario. Another big pouch with netting. And then here's what I really like. It's got all this suspension in here so you can kind of hold things on, pens, paper, whatever. It's kind of where I keep the majority of my stuff. A couple spare pouches, water pouch. It's got a bladder bag pocket here with a hose run out so you can put your hose in there. And it has the extension zipper that, if I remember correctly, it opens up about 30 to 40% more volume for the bag. I've never needed that personally. With all this here, it's about 30 pounds. I wouldn't go too much heavier than that. I'm about a 230 pound man. You don't want to get too close to your body weight because then life starts to suck. And this is a sleeping bag. It's Swiss Tech. Go up to -20. I've had that since I was 18 years old. I'm now 29, and it's held me well. The only thing that struggled is the bivy sack. Has definitely seen better days. It doesn't hold tight well, or it doesn't hold tight anymore. But 10 years out of a bag, I consider that money well spent. We're gonna go ahead and take a quick pause and start bagging some of this stuff up. I don't want to bore you guys with that, and we'll get right back to it. Alright, welcome back, guys. Kind of got everything bagged up a little bit, tidied up a little bit. As I was doing that, we were kind of chatting and talking, and John brought up a good point, something I should mention. So I use the Family Care bug spray because I have a small child lives with me. But there's a thing called a Thermacell for you campers and hunters. You might already know about this. It's basically an electric bug repellent. It kind of avoids the scent of bug spray. If you're in a situation where you don't want sight smell, anything like that to give you away, something I'd recommend, kind of getting away from the traditional scent of bug spray, which will give away your position pretty quickly. And then another thing, as you guys can tell, these bungee cords have seen heavy use. I've had them for years. So what's happened over the years is there's basically rubber bands inside here that start to give out and give way, and so they just kind of, I bring them in a little bit, retie them, go on and out, and basically get more use out of them. So what I'm saying here is it's important to go through your equipment and make sure everything's still serviceable. You might have a bag that you haven't touched in a few years, maybe your food's expired, your water's busted, your ropes are frayed, whatever the case may be. It's just important to make sure that you're checking back in on your equipment. Treat it like you would anything that you use on a daily basis. Because if you're prepping, if you've got a bug out bag, chances are if you're ever using that equipment, your life is on the line, or someone you care about's life is on the line. So it's very important that that equipment is serviceable, easy to use, and not falling apart while being used. So we're going to go ahead and I will talk about how to bag, how I bag. Everyone bags differently. Like I said before, all of this all together, dry, no water, is about 30 pounds. I'm about a 230 pound man. So just kind of keep that ratio. I've heard 20% of your body weight, depending on how much you're walking, what you're walking through, over rough terrain, through woods, creeks, water, whatever the case may be. I'd say the lighter the better, especially in a situation where you're just trying to get home. This isn't really a 3-day bag. I have it kind of packed as a 3-day bag, but really it's just to get me home. I work just a few miles from the house. I don't really travel too far without my family around. But just keep that in mind when you're building your bag. You might be able to lift a lot of weights, might be able to run really fast, but when you're going through terrain, everything gets different. So just keep that in mind. But so I like to do, so I have my large pocket here. I'm gonna put my middle weight stuff, my rope, my bungees, things like that, put them on the bottom, and I'm gonna work my way to the top, and I'm gonna put kind of my heavier weight towards the top. I want that weight to sit on my shoulders, that way it'll transfer down my back. I can keep my hip straps tight, and I don't have a ton of weight pulling me down and backwards. Different people pack differently, different things are comfortable for different people. But one thing that is very important no matter how you pack is that your bag fits you properly. If your bag's hanging off you and sliding and bopping around, you're going to be very uncomfortable and life will be miserable very quickly for you. So just keep that in mind, and I will bandage this up. Again, I got the climbing rope, very thick braid, standard 550 cord, and this is just nylon. You can get this at Kroger, Walmart. It's like $2. I got a few spools of this. I use that around the house for a lot of different purposes. But another thing you want to do when you're packing, no matter what you're packing, you want to make sure priority stuff is on top. So this is my food, my snacks, things like that. These aren't very important. So I'm just going to kind of put them here in the back pocket, the least accessible pocket of all. My first aid kit is going to be right here with some batteries and light. And here's going to be some knives and fire starting supplies. And the reason that is because you want your stuff that you need the most right on top. But first aid kit, put that there. Chem lights I'm going to put in here. That. I won't bore you guys with every intricate detail of what I'm doing over here, but just kind of keep that in mind. That priority stuff you do want to put on top. I'm going to put my Camelback pocket, fill that in. Make sure when you're doing this that your hose end goes down, easy to forget. Won't do you much good if gravity's not feeding that. And another little trick I like to do whenever you're zipping up, I like to keep my zippers together at the top. Different people have different preferences. That's what works for me, so that's what I stick with. But flashlight right in here on front, because you will need a flashlight, I can guarantee you that. I like to keep my batteries separate. That way they don't have any corrosion on them. I also keep a battery terminal cleaner kit in my car. You can use it for regular batteries as well. Patch kit there. Fire starter scissors. Multi-tool. Close that up. My knives, my sharpening kit. I'm going to go in here with my first aid kit. So another important thing here is I have a blade in this pocket and a fire starter. I have a blade and a fire starter in this pocket as well with my first aid kit. this is a newer addition to the bag. Had a real world situation over the summer. A friend of mine, we were drinking out in the woods, pretty far away from a hospital, about 2 hours, 30 minutes from the vehicle. Friend took a hatchet to the hand, and I realized that everyone, myself included, was very poorly equipped for that situation. And my buddy lost a lot of blood because of it. Luckily, he still has all of his fingers, but it was a close call. Socks are going to go right here, right on top, because you want your socks handy. I promise you that. Tourniquet's going to go through here. I'm going to kind of just bug all this stuff in. Bug spray here, Poncho right on top. Poncho right on top. Bungee cords, stuff down here. That lighter, wipes, and then this. So I always keep a trash bag. I'm sure you guys heard the campfire rule. Whatever you bring in, bring back out. That's the case in a real world scenario as well. Always leave it better than you found it. Still filming or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so the light cuts, why I asked. I'm going to put this snack here. So if I get hungry, I'll have something there. Emergency poncho there. I'm not digging for it. Close up my sides. I would typically keep a water bottle right here. I just took the one that was out there because it was getting old and kind of beat. But I will put my hatchet there. Kind of tie it into the water kit or the water bottle holder.
You should turn that around so we can see it.
Oh yeah. So I got that kind of suspended in here, in there. Half pin barrel, lock that in. And then I'm going to roll this up, this whoopee, and I'm going to clip it onto my side here. We won't bore you with that footage. Something you may not want to do if this is a bag you're carrying with you. This stays in my vehicle at all times, so perfectly content and comfortable with this being outside the bag.